Nice. All right. Cool. We can go ahead and get everything started, though, brother. If that's cool with you.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Truth Podcast. My name is Neek Robinson. If you guys don't know, I'm a little bit of a podcaster here on this platform of YouTube, Apple Podcast app, and Spotify, all that different jazz, whatever. Took a little bit of a break, so this is my first guest back and first episode back after taking a little bit of a break. So I'm glad you guys are tuning back into the podcast and everything. So, but today got a brand new guest on. He's a good friend of mine, and he is a music artist here, creative in the Des Moines scene. Shout out to DSM Brew as well. So they are going to be brewing some coffee in the background. So if you guys hear that, just know that is what is going on. But today, my guest is Mr. Billy Weathers, aka BWELL. Brother, what's going on, man? What's going on?
Just out here enjoying life, man. Happy to be here.
Exactly, bro.
You know what it
exactly.
Is.
Bro, appreciate you sacrificing your day today and just having a chat with me and all that stuff. Get to know who BWELL today is and all that, and just kind of dive into everything.
100%.
So, BWELL, before we dive into everything, though, who is BWELL today? How old are you? Kind of give the people that don't know you just a little bit about yourself real quick.
For sure. For everybody trying to steal my identity, my government name is William Dwayne Weathers, a.k.a. BWELL. I live in Des Moines. I operate here with my team, Dead Stock Entertainment, and we just been kind of rolling, I'd say, the last 4 or 5 years, the heaviest. In regards to our creative capacity, just trying to do our part for the culture and trying to help project Des Moines onto the scene. There's a lot of talent here, so we're just trying to do our part, you know.
Absolutely. And I think that it's super important, you know, in like the music scene to always be willing to work with a lot of different people. And I think that it's super dope, like what you guys got going on at Dead Stock and everything. It's it's you, and then it's Apollo Spacey, right? And then it is Teller Banks.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And is there anybody else that's kind of part of the team
AM Mixes
too?
is our head engineer. Johnny Mars is another artist from Sioux City. And then there's Jim Stessman, Marcus Tribble. There's a lot of pieces to Dead Stock, but in regards to the artists,
that's super dope, bro. That's super dope, bro. I think that it's super dope that you guys are you guys are just like sharing the wealth and sharing the sugar and sharing the love. You know, I think that it's super important. You know, because like when they drop like an album or a project, you guys can always promote their work, and then when you drop something, they're going to be promoting your stuff. So it's just like, you know, getting different avenues, and like, you know, you said I think Johnny Mars, right, is from like the Sioux City area, so that's like a different avenue that you're able to touch in on. So I think that that's super dope that you guys have like a super huge collective, not only just Des Moines based, but also like Iowa based. It's super dope, brother.
Thanks,
super
man.
dope. BWELL, talk to me about what your experience was like growing up and all that stuff. Kind of just give me the bare bones of what kind of happened.
Yeah, I was born actually at the hospital right over in Sherman Hills. I lived there for about 6-7 years, and then we moved over to the Beaverdale area where we resided until about 7th grade when I moved out to Las Vegas.
Gotcha.
So my mother works and still currently does for the American Red Cross.
Gotcha.
Shout out to my mom.
Shout out to Red Cross.
Shout out to the Red Cross. Yeah, they definitely have. She's taking care of them, but the vice versa. You know, they've done their part and let her live a comfortable life. You know, but she bust her ass. She's worked her ass off my entire life. We lived out in Vegas until about 2009, and they relocated into Edina, Minnesota.
Okay.
And so at that time,
I
just
graduated.
North
Minnesota?
It's like a little suburb. It's like a West Des Moines off of Minneapolis, essentially. You know what I mean? In the St. Paul area.
Gotcha.
Out for that. At the same time, in 2009, I graduated from high school out in Las Vegas, and so I relocated back to Simpson College. So I graduated in 2013 with my integrated marketing communications degree, and played football down there, and that's kind of like where we spearheaded the music and really started.
Gotcha. That's super dope, bro.
Thanks, man.
How was like the experience out in Las Vegas for you? How was that?
It was cool. It was a complete paradigm shift from living in Des Moines, because when I was at that age, you know, in 7th, 8th grade, all you see from Vegas is the strip. You know, you just see like whatever they're showing you on television. And so when we flew out there to go house hunting for the first time, I was in awe that they even had cribs out there. You know, like
they
I was
just
just like
grass and shit in there.
It'd be artificial, but they be trying. They have golf courses, you know what I mean? They're spending the extra money to keep it watered, but there definitely is a whole like I don't know, like ecosystem of people living out there and operating.
It's weird because, like, you know, like it's out in the desert and shit. And I always see, like, I've been there, but only like to the airport and shit. I haven't like gone out and traveled
on the
there.
Strip, Las Vegas Boulevard type.
But I've always like seen like buddies of mine go there, and they like have like pictures of people like not wearing anything like on the street and shit, and like people like street performing and all that stuff. It's like it's a totally different world.
It's
and I feel like you can kind of get away with that shit. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird how that kind of comes
like
about and everything.
Handing out like. I don't want to say, you don't want to say prostitution cards, but low key,
but
like
something like that. You know, you gotta hustle.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, 30 miles outside of town, you can go to like brothels and like things like that, which is wild. You know, like, think about trying to go like 30 minutes outside Des Moines and trying to go to a whorehouse.
Dude, it's just crazy. It's a totally different, totally different ballgame.
Totally, 100%. But it was cool. Learned a lot. It was, it's definitely a different pace. It's no slight to Iowa, but we're a little slow in regards to diversity and integration, you know, so it was cool to go out there and really immerse in different cultures and like see all kinds of different people that are, because it's very rare that you meet somebody that was born and raised in Las Vegas. It's kind of a hub for people just, I don't know, staying there for a little while and then they move on to their next spot. And but I'm very grateful for my time out there. A huge music influence came from being out there. You know, you're close to the West Coast in general, and so that's why I like fell in love with that sound. You know, Nipsey Hussle, The Game, just Dre in general, the influence that he had on music. But I definitely am appreciative of my time out there. So.
How was the I feel like they got like a lot of the shows, so like you're always kind of immersed like in some crazy different shows. Like they have like a lot of magic stuff. They have a lot of obviously like music stuff going on there, like especially like on the Strip. You know, there's always like something popping and happening.
For sure.
Did you like go to any of those kind of places when you were like a kid and going through high school and all that stuff?
Low key, that was like, it was kind of like, it was cool because I didn't really get into like drinking and smoking and partying really until I got into like college and like kind of started experimenting with that. But luckily, like, you can be down on the Strip until 4 in the morning. You know what I mean? If your parents are cool with it, you know, and you got good friends and stuff, and you staying out of sketch areas and whatnot. But yeah, you can be in the casinos, you can go to shows. Like they're very lenient in the facts of like letting people just walk around and live freely down there. You know, obviously you can't be gambling unless you're 21 and of age and whatnot. But yeah, I remember like for prom we got a hotel like on the Strip. Got our limo to take us like after like the ceremonies or whatnot. You know what I mean? We were down and we went and saw like one of the water shows like down at, like at the Luxor or something. I don't remember where it was.
Are a lot of those shows like 18 plus or 21 plus?
No, a lot of them are low key like family friendly. Like obviously you can find your 18 up only places.
For sure.
Yeah, there's definitely like, I mean, they got a place called Circus where it's just literally like a circus casino essentially. You know, that's a little more kid driven.
Gotcha.
I haven't been there for years, but like I assume it's still pretty driven towards that. But yeah, it's a cool place. It's a unique place. I don't know that I would live there again. Definitely a place to like go for a weekend and get out.
You know, exactly. That's what I kind of hear too. So it'll kind of be interesting when I actually like make the trip out there. But how was like the experience in high school for you there? I feel like it's like a lot different there. Like, was it more fast paced like than school was back here in like Des Moines and stuff?
Yeah, low key, it's no slight to them. You know, I mean, the whole education in this the nation and society is kind of ass backwards, but like super bad out there. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? It's not as bad as Mississippi and like some southern states and whatnot as far as like numbers go. But like I remember getting there and like in 8th grade and like 9th grade primarily, and just being like, yo, I learned this shit in like 3 years ago type thing. Yeah, so it was like
crazy.
It made it so it was like easier, but like I remember not paying attention much in school and kind of like trying to soak in more like game and like understand like what was going on around me, as opposed to like I wasn't really worried about having to do schoolwork. You know?
Well, and I feel like a lot of those school districts, like other than like in Des Moines, they just like don't really care about like, you know, if you graduate or like if you move on to the next grade or your grades in general. Like they just don't really care, which is really sad too, because like you know that kind of like gets into like the trajectory of everybody's life and where everybody decides to go with their lives and everything. Especially if like you don't have somebody that's good that's in your corner. I think that's super important to like be successful, is to always like have somebody good in your corner and everything. BWELL, talk to me about life before music and all that stuff. What was that kind of like? Is it kind of the same gist, you feel like?
I was a big sports fan. I still currently am. I don't follow, I guess, as much in depth, but...
Did you play football, like, all the way through school?
I started out, like, physically in taekwondo and soccer, low-key. So, yeah, I got my flexibility and footwork first,
That's what's up.
And then I kind of stumbled onto basketball and football because it was just, like, that was, like, what my pops watched, you know? And so I was seeing that all the time, and I was very intrigued by that. And then... off of that, I was able to go to Simpson and continue my collegiate career, you know, playing, and so that was cool. But yeah, I guess life before music was like, I've always been into like fashion, you know what I mean? I like fly shit just like the next man, you know. But yeah, I'm an outdoorsy kind of dude. I went to a lot of like summer camps and shit when I was younger because both my parents was working during the summer.
What kind of summer camps did you go to? Is it just
like low-key was like when we lived in Des Moines, it was Campfire Boys and Girls, like over on Hickman, low-key.
Gotcha.
And so like it was like Camp Riverview, Camp Outrageous, all those things where they like take you up to Camp Hannah out there like near Boone and Ames area, and you just go hiking and learn how to start fires, build shit.
Super dope, bro. That's super dope.
Yeah, I love being
versatile,
outside.
You know, like different
just
shit. Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly.
Yeah.
Never wanna get stuck out in the wilderness somewhere.
Yeah, right. Not know how to do nothing.
What to do. Yeah.
Try to at least get home.
Exactly, man. Right. Exactly. When did you kind of like stumble upon music? Was that in college?
As in like something I wanted to like pursue, or just like
kind of like, or give me like the whole backstory. Like when do you feel like you kind of stumbled onto it and wanted to kind of take it into your own lane, kind of?
I guess I say it in most like interviews or podcasts that my pops had a huge influence on my music. Just in general, he always had like a fat ass music collection.
Yeah.
And just I remember rows of CDs, cassettes, and like, and we would always like they would always clean the house early Sunday mornings, and so like it didn't really matter if I wanted to be up, like the music was playing, you know. And so when we would go on road trips, like traveling with my mom for her job or something, or going up to Minneapolis a lot. That's where a lot of my mom's folks stay, and so we would take road trips and listen to albums from front to back, you know. And so I'm learning like old music, like I think Drake's got a line like it's old music, like where you had to like really feel it and go through it kind of things. And so it was like I grew up on soul and funk music as opposed to like, I don't know, I found hip hop and R&B and like kind of just the pop genre later on in life when I could make like curate my own sound, but it definitely had a big influence on me. And then I think in 3rd or 4th grade I picked up the trumpet. And so I was a brass head. I could play like the baritone.
That's dope.
Yeah, the baritone, French horn. I was never like first chair. There was always somebody that was a little smoother than I was.
It's all good. It's all good. I think that like adds like a different dynamic though to your music now.
Sure.
You know, 100%. To like always have that in like your repertoire, you know, just to have that, and like in case if you need to like put on some brass shit, you're able to do it. You're able to do it. You know, that's super dope.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that kind of like happened throughout the course of like learning music and all that stuff for you?
Yeah, like low key when I was in high school, like my friends that I was hanging out with at the time, like we just had this crew like that we rode with. It was me, Jake Barr, Biggie, Kevin Hughes is his real name, and then Eric Rubeck, his name is Tubbs, and then Damon Montgomery, who's from I think Greenville or Gainesville, Mississippi. And so we always just like we was like into hip hop, you know what I mean? Like them especially. Like I remember them just like showing me shit, or like that was when LimeWire was cracking. So we would just go be downloading our own music. So yeah, we would just be downloading viruses onto our computer, getting mixtapes every now and then, and then we would like we would just ride around like with like playing Lupe, and that's like when Drake was like first coming onto the market, and like listening, that was when like Lil Wayne was at like his peak, and so like I remember Mississippi just being in the car freestyling and like rapping, and we're just listening to like the new hot shit. We didn't really listen to the radio, and like we took pride in being like, nah, we on this shit. You know what I mean? Like y'all 2 months late on that.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
Bro. So, exactly. I think that like the music scene for like in high school is kind of different, because like I remember when I was going through high school, like my homies, like if I was playing music in the car or some shit, I'd always have to like play some hard shit, you know. It's always like hard. You can't be like really playing like any soft shit or whatever, you know. But I think that like now it's kind of changed, and like everybody's kind of looking at different genres and stuff, and like Lil Nas X kind of surprised me, like with him being African American and also like, you know, having a country song is like super dope, and with it being like #1 for like, I think it's like one of the longest running #1 like singles.
I hope it breaks the record,
dude. I hope he does too. Like, but I think that it's just interesting because like maybe 5-10 years ago, I don't think that he would have been able to do that. You know, it's like country was just kind of like, it was kind of put off, you know, but he kind of like has made this like almost hip-hop country lane in a sense. I think that it's interesting how music has kind of just progressed into something different.
It's becoming universal.
Yeah.
They tried to keep it super like segregated for a long time, but it was like music talks to everybody, so it's like you can't just keep it honed in on one kind of people. Like it's just gonna find its way all over, especially with the internet. It changed everything. So
it's just crazy. I was gonna talk to you about that because I feel like you're like one of the dudes that like I've kind of always known about in music. Like I feel like it was like you and Space, like especially like in the Des Moines scene. Like I knew about you guys like way back when.
Shout out Space.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, but I think that like, do you feel like you guys got into like, I feel like you guys were in like the SoundCloud age, but like before, like right before that was like when it was like you'd had to pass out mixtapes or CDs and all that stuff.
Like that hustle
How do you feel like, did you like do any of that, or was it like 100%. All kind of strictly SoundCloud stuff?
No, actually, when we first, I mean, we was in like the DAP Piff era. We was in like when people was downloading from that was a huge thing. What was it? hiphopearly.com, like all those like kind of like sites where you could upload your own music. It kind of started opening it up for independent artists and people that were even just like bullshitting and making their own sound. And but I definitely had my like Simpson days where we was out passing out mixtapes and we was printing them all ourselves, writing on them, handing them out, seeing what people thought. And, but there was definitely that grind.
How do you feel like that hustle's like changed with like the internet, obviously, like with Apple Music and with all the streaming services that we have now? I feel like it's kind of changed the dynamic a lot.
For sure. It's almost like oversaturated the market. You can kind of I kind of resemble it to me and Teller talk about like shoes. He's a big shoe fanatic. And so he kind of relates. I don't know, we kind of make like the correlation between music and the shoe market. Like now it's just oversaturated. You can go get, like Jordan releases don't really have as much
hype behind them
as they used to. And it's kind of like music's the same thing. Like for Lil Wayne to move 1 million copies back in like 2008. Like
that's just insane.
Yeah, that's fucking unheard of now. And like streaming is cool, you know, but it's just like they've kind of manipulated the market to make the music industry even more bread. You know, it's just like it's good and bad, you know, like the people can go find whatever they want to listen to, but now it's also just become extremely oversaturated.
And I think that like the oversaturated part kind of sucks to a certain extent, but like it's also like really cool with how it's kind of set up now, because like you literally just have to post a link or even like a screenshot of like what your tape looks like, and then you know you can just send people to go look at it and stuff, and then they can stream it. But it's kind of like, it kind of sucks though, because like I thought, I didn't think that like iTunes would ever like go away, and now they're talking about like getting rid of it as a whole and shit. So it's just kind of weird like how music has definitely changed. Like I feel like in our lifetime we've seen like CDs and DVDs like go from like the top thing to like dying out, you know. And then like before that it was records and like tapes and stuff. So it's just interesting. I don't know if like, I was kind of talking about this with one of my buddies. I was talking like, I feel like streaming is like the last like frontier for us. Like I don't really think that we can go.
I don't know how much further.
You know, like unless if like we ingrain it like into our minds or something. Like
I wouldn't put it past them.
You know, but I don't think that like there's gonna be a next step other than streaming. I feel like this is gonna be like what it is for a long time at least. And, you know, obviously like I can't think of like what they could do other than this. But you know, how do you feel like that dynamic has been like in essence of like, you know, trying to almost like reinvent yourself as a music artist, you know, because like I feel like you have to like keep with the times 100%. And shit, and like you have to like learn how to like put all your stuff on different platforms and all that. How do you feel like that's been for you?
A challenge. I think it's been the fun, like probably the funnest part. You know, is like not really like you kind of hone in on who you are, and then you figure out like the marketing behind it, because it's more like. I think the sound is still the most important thing to me.
Absolutely.
You know, in regards to anybody that knows me knows how I react when I hear something that I really like. And so if my music doesn't bring that out of me, I don't want to release it. And so, but in regards to, you have to build a brand nowadays, because people are following that more than they follow anything else. Exactly. You know, like you don't really know why you have an iPhone or an Apple computer, but it's kind of just like that's that shit. Thing. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody else got one, so this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And like, if you can build that mythos and that hype behind who you are and what's your name and what you're kind of bringing to the table, I feel like that's the separation between being an independent artist and a superstar nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Teller's got to really, and this is like for anybody that's tuning in, this is a gem, so you should pay attention. Pay
attention.
If as an artist, if you can create or people know what your theme park would look like, you're on the right track. Think about it. You know exactly what you would get if you went to Astro World. It's a real place. Exactly. If you went to OVO World, you know what you would get. If you went to J. Cole's, you know what you would get. I know what I would get if I went to Teller's. I know what I would try to provide if you went to mine. You know, and so it took me a long time to be able to figure that out and really be like, who am I? What am I trying to sell? You know, besides my music, because people are trying to. I don't know, the artists that we listen to, we kind of listen to them and apply their tactics to our lives. And we're trying to be like, I'm glorifying that because that's the way I want to live. You know what I mean? And so that's really, the challenge that I feel like we've been figuring out the past 6 months to a year. And that is, I feel like the biggest separation between artists just in general.
Yeah, because I think that it's super important, you know, to find your own style, like you and Teller has been saying, you know, like, I think that, you know, even in like just the creative industry as a whole, I feel like it's super important to, you know, if I'm seeing like your work or whatever, like I want to be able to know like, oh, that's BWELL right there. Like that's exactly what I'm hearing. Like
every single time.
Yeah, so I think that that's super important, you know, to be able to build that, and I think that that's a special thing too. But I think that you also like have to keep in mind that like, you know, you do want to be versatile, like in case if like somebody wants to like get on a feature with you or some shit, you know, like if like somebody like Drake or like maybe like a Khalid that's got a little bit more of a singing voice or something like that, if they want to get on and like, you know, you do a feature with them, you got to be able to kind of work with them and like give them a different sound too. I think that music is just this beautiful thing that, you know, you can add different sounds into the one little track and then just make something beautiful out of it, you know. I think that's super important.
Very, very.
BWELL, talk to me about what it was like for you recording your first song. What was that like for you? When was that? Was that in college?
That was in college that we really did like the first one. It was a homie named Miles Reed, and I was a sophomore at Simpson. Okay. And we was living over in the Buxton dorms, and I remember Miles, he came from Arizona. And so we had that like little mutual tie, like, oh, Arizona's pretty close to Vegas. Like, we out here in Indianola. This is kind of now we're back in the slums.
Exactly.
Shout out to Indianola. It's really not that bad. It's kind of bad. But so he played football with me, and he was a wide receiver and whatnot. And he was always like just rapping in general. We had that mutual like kind of thing, like as far as friends, like yo, like I'm listening to this, what you listening to? And then he showed me some shit that he had made, and I was like, yo, this is hard. Where'd you make this at? Like, and he was like, shit, just open my room. And I was like, okay, for sure. And so I go up there, and he shows me his setup. He's got this little microphone just set up like in his closet.
No shit.
And, but yeah, just like in between clothes and whatnot. And he was like, yeah, this is where I record at. So we hopped on You Feeling It? That Jay-Z, like old Jay-Z song. And he had the instrumental. And it was me, Miles, and then Jake Trout, who's still doing music here in town with Taylor King. And shout out those guys for sure. But yeah, I remember like writing my verse, and I was all out of pocket, had no rhythm ass.
Hey man, you gotta start somewhere though, you know.
But I remember doing that and being like, yo, this is hard. And then I was up at Thanksgiving break, and Jake Barr and Biggie would always come home with me because my folks were staying in Minnesota and their folks were back in Minneapolis. You know, it'd be expensive as hell to travel in this country. And so we went to Best Buy on like Black Friday and copped like a microphone and like a cord, some headphones, and from there it was kind of just like, let me rip all these instrumentals that my favorite rappers are using, and let me try my own shit on them. And then it's kind of
dope. That's super dope. I think that like music is like, it's such like a trial and error type of thing. You know, you just gotta learn like what you're good at, what you're not good at, and then, you know, try to progress on the stuff that you aren't good at, you know. And I think
find yourself.
That was back in like what, 2012 maybe?
Yeah, that would have been the 2011 through 13 time frame.
Area. Yeah. So, you know, like you've obviously like grown a lot since then. You know, you've kind of found your own style, found your own lane, and you kind of built like this persona of BWELL now. You know, you're just kind of doing your thing, man. I really just appreciate, you know, seeing artists like yourself and like the guys in Dead Stock, you know, just trying to build like your own brand and shit. I admire that a lot.
Thank you, man.
Admire that a lot. BWELL, talk to me like how long you've been into the music scene. Obviously, like it's been kind of since that point. Do you feel like there was like a jump in between that to when you like officially like wanted to start doing it?
Yeah, there was. I I was in Brian Steffen's class. I can't remember what. I think it was some journalism course.
Yeah.
And a dude named Grant Rogers, who was working for the Smithsonian, he was like their head editor-in-chief, came up to me, and I was just sitting there getting ready for class, you know, probably doing my homework that I didn't do.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck college, fuck school.
And so he's sitting there, and he's like, yo, man, congrats, BWELL. Like, I see you got a show. And I was like, yeah, the show that we're doing over here at Simpson. We had, like, a show coming up or whatever. He's like, no, this one downtown Des Moines. And I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? And he pulls this up, like, there's this dude named BWELL. And I was like, and, like, there's a little bio on him. And he's like, this other dude from Des Moines. And I was like, I don't know who that is. You know what I mean? And he was like, you sure? And I was like, well, yeah, I think I would know if I had a show coming up. You know what I mean? And so later on, I'm just kind of like diving more into it. I see who some of the other opening acts are. And one of the girls that was on the show actually reached out. She shot me a message and she was like, yo, I see that you go by the same alias as this guy. He actually just canceled. Would you like to come down and like perform in his spot?
Whoa,
right.
That's crazy.
Right? Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, of course. And so we pack up like 3 or 4 cars worth of like the homies that I played football just created with, and we go down to vaudeville. And yeah, that was our like first like show in Des Moines. And I remember like getting done with the show and like people, I'm conversating with some of the artists like, yo, you dope, yeah, let's do this again. And like, and the dude's like, yo, BWELL, let's settle up. And I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck that means at this point. You know, I'm just like, I'm following this dude to the back room, like, yo. And he hands me this like wad of cash, and I was like, you know, I'm not gonna turn down no money.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I take it, and he was like, yo, good show tonight. Like, I appreciate you putting this on. And I was like, no doubt, man. You know, we're gonna pay off the other artists, and I'm sitting there looking at this money like, yo, this is kind of fun. You know what I mean? Like, I could get used to this type
like,
thing.
You probably only did like an hour of your time just performing and shit.
That, you know, I might have been on stage for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You just got the cash, got the bread, and you just
headed back to Indianola.
That's dope, bro. That's dope. Cool. That's super awesome. Have you like heard about the other BWELL?
I haven't. Like, I remember he reached out. He said something. I think it was after the show, like maybe a week or so. He's like, "Yo, bro, you using my name?" And I was like, "You didn't even show up for your show, homie. So whose name is it now?" You know what I mean? Like, what's
That's
really
crazy.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's crazy.
obviously, we wasn't beefing or nothing. Like, I wasn't engaging in the theatrics, but it was just like, I mean, I'm about to use it if it's working.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So,
that's just crazy. Like, I've never heard of like a story like that. That's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Cool.
That's pretty interesting, especially like 2 of the same guys just from the same city, like, you know, got the same name. What are the odds of that?
Yeah, and his name, like, it like fit the BWELL more. I think it was like Brian Wellman or something.
Okay.
And so it was like, it maybe fit his name a little more. You know, and so maybe that's why he was like beefing with it. But it was just like, man,
I'm gonna just do my thing,
I'm
bro.
gonna just keep going.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I wasn't vindictive when I chose this name,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean. I chose to go by this alias. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like obviously you didn't know about him or whatever, so it's like, hey,
and you didn't show up, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Opportunity passed.
Opportunity came and went, sure. And you capitalized on 100%. It. That's what's up.
That's how it
That's
be.
what's up, bro. BWELL, talk to me. What is like your greatest accomplishment that you've done so far? This could be in life. This could be in music. This could be in whatever you want to talk about.
That's a tough question. I would say like watching the people closest to me like excel, and then just grow not only as artists but human beings.
Yeah.
You know, whether that be Malia or Teller or Anthony or Jim or Taylor, Jerry, DJ. Like I have a big and small circle. You know, I keep the people that I keep very close. They mean a lot to me, and I tell them about everything that's going on in my life and things. And so it's cool to like. It makes me feel good like about my unit that we're still like clicking. You know what I mean? 6, 7, 8, a decade into this shit. Like we're still like, you know, everybody has their ups, downs, but there hasn't been like a pitfall yet. And so I'm very, very proud of that. I'm very proud of like the team aspect, the things that we've been able to build in regards to being like a pillar in this city, regardless of how people feel about me. Like we made a dent and an impact here. You know, it doesn't really, I don't care if you don't like the music, you know, like it's more about the movement in my eyes.
Yeah.
You know, like the music will come. I just keep getting better. My team keeps getting better.
Exactly.
So it's just like, it'll get to a point where it's undeniable. And so that's what I'm the most proud of. As far as one physical thing, I would say probably CultureCon.
Yeah.
Working with Lavish, and shout out those guys. But yeah, just like that was like a culmination of like everything that everybody in the city has been working for. Just, you know, like that was
to see putting it under one roof.
Yeah, 700 plus people in Woolies, like for all, like there was nobody outside of, I think Cedar Falls was the furthest we went to get Kenneth Black. You know what I mean? Like, and shout out KB in his fashion. But like that was all Iowa. And that was sold out. And like that was like one of the best nights that Willie's has ever done behind the bar. And like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of national headlining acts that come in there, and to like be able to be like, yo, yeah, we did this shit too. It was cracking. You know what I mean? Obviously, we went to Omaha. It ain't gonna be like that in Minneapolis, but soon it will be.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, you got to start somewhere, and I think that like, you know, something that is really dope that you guys have kind of taken the initiative on this past like 6 months to a year, like especially in 2019, you guys have like been doing almost an event every single month. It feels like, you know, and I think that like the event thing is like, you know, obviously like you guys have your main motive, which is like to perform your guys' music, but like also like the other motive is like you're trying to bring just the culture together and these people together. And you know, I think that that's like super important in our community, because like we don't have a lot of stuff like that, you know. And like I think that like during the summer months, it's like that's when it's mainly happening. But like, you know, during like the winter months and like, you know, in the middle of January or December or whatever,
people get cold
like,
and isolated.
Yeah, and they're like, you know, I think that like there's something about like what do they call it? It's like seasonal depression.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like people are just like sitting around because like you don't have shit to do here. Like it's cold as fuck. Like you don't want to go outside or whatever. So you know, like versus like the summer, like you can go outside, go and sit outside, and like you know, just eat some food or whatever. But I think that it's super important that we have events like that, and you know, for people like yourself and the Dead Sock guys, and just like, you know, you guys are creating these events, you know, to try and bring the culture together, and it's just super
100%.
dope, man. It's super dope.
Thanks, man.
And then you guys did the what was the one? It was at the art atrium.
The move.
The move, the move. I thought that was super dope too. You know, just
man.
like, just kind of like a little sit down, like, and just like touring around a little gallery space. I thought that was, like,
it was like a low key like our culture art fest. It's no slight to the Des Moines Art Week or anything. Like the art festival, I go to it every single year, and I'm in awe of like. But I don't have $20,000 to drop on a fucking painting or like a sculpture. I would love to at some point in my life, but like I'm not in that position, and 99.8% of my friends are not in that position. So it was like, it was cool to be able to set up something where it was like, Borg got a shot, S-Dot got a shot, Riley Glenn got a shot, you know what I mean? Teller Banks got a shot to move his jewelry. Like we had like people that I interact with on a daily basis, like out here slanging shit, making a couple $100 just selling $20, $30, $50 things, you know what I mean? Like I remember buying like a painting or two off of Laura Todd, and like just being like, yo, this shit is dope, man, you know what I mean? And it was like, it was very like humbling experience to just be like, it's easy for us as performers. I don't want to say easy. I think that we've put in like the steps to create our platforms, you know, but there's vaudevilles, there's lefties, there's, you know what I mean, there's the gas lamp, there's Woolies, obviously, to where we have a shot to perform. But it's very hard for photographers and painters and jewelers to get their artwork and those things off, besides like the internet or maybe getting on the farmer's market, you know what I mean? And even that's hard, you know? So it's just like, what can we do to give back to the people that come and support us on the daily?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like you rise an interesting point, you know, like people like painters and photographers and stuff. Like obviously like photographers, you can get some type of recognition by like working with music artists and taking pictures of music artists or whatever, but you know, there's a lot of like people that are very talented and like they don't get to display their work
in this city alone. Like I can only imagine what it's like in every other city, but like Des Moines is dope as fuck as far as like creatives go. And there's a lot of people that don't really get their chance to shine, and it can be very discouraging. You know, I know how it felt like to do shows and 10 people show up. You know what I mean? We still have some shows that are like that, but it's just like I can only imagine how it feels to put your art and like your soul into photography, and then no one really gives a shit. Or, you know, like
it can be a little tough sometimes, you know, but I think that like as long as like you have people like yourself, or you know, like you believe in yourself too, I think that's like super important to like always have like yourself backing yourself, and then, you know, find like this collective of people that, you know, care about yourself and like your work and all that stuff too. I think that that's super important, and you know, it's super dope that like there are people like you out there that are trying to give back to the community and stuff, man. It's super dope.
Appreciate you.
We kind of talked about like where your love for music kind of stemmed from. Obviously, like it was kind of like from your parents and stuff. Do you feel like there's anything else that kind of brought the love into the music and stuff?
I don't know what it is. I've always had a fascination with sound. I love it. I attribute a lot. Obviously, like the from infancy to the first like 5 years of your life is the most formative years in regards to motor skills and just operational and how your brain like activity works. And so shout out to my parents for doing whatever they did. You know what I mean? Nobody's perfect, but like I really appreciate the fact that I'm a well-rounded individual in regards to like I'm not just good at one thing, or I'm not just okay at this. Like whatever I try to do, I try to be really good at it. You know, and like and that's, I don't know. It's never like an egotistical, arrogant thing. It's just I like to work hard, and like if I know that I can do it a little bit, it's like I want to do it a lot type of thing. And so even with like going back to the summer camp thing, like there were a lot of long drives up to like Boone and Camp Hanishon. So we're listening to the radio, and like I remember listening to like John Mayer and like people that, and I was like, this shit's tight, you know what I mean? Regardless of like, you know, being like a young black male in like America, like you tell people you listening to Fall Out Boy and John Mayer, and like people, they're like, why? Or you know what I mean? They look at you funny, but like I was very influenced by that. And I remember two songs in general that will always forever stick with me was Air Force Ones by the St. Lunatics Nelly and Rollout by Ludacris. And I remember watching the Rollout music video when I was getting my haircut when I was a young kid. Like, and I was like, this is the hardest shit I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? And then listening to Air Force Ones, and I remember like being able to like catch the lyrics pretty easy, and I was like, I can remember this shit. And you know, and obviously it took me years to put it all together. Like maybe you could rap, you know, but like I just remember listening to those like in general, and then I got like the Murphy Lee album and Beg for Mercy. I got Beg for Mercy from G Unit from like one of the girls. You know, you can't call it a girlfriend in 7th grade. You know, but she got me that CD and it was unedited, and my parents never let me listen to that shit. My dad was very like, you better not say the N word, you better not cuss type thing. And so it was just like when I got to hear that stuff, I was like, yo. You know, like fucking Young Bud, Lloyd Banks, and 50 Cent are out here talking about killing, drugs, women, all this shit, and I'm just like, yo, this shit's hard, bro. You know what I mean? Like the Dr. Dre produced it. Like I'm like, this is the hardest shit I've heard in my life. And I was like, from that point on, I was like, I don't know what else I would want to do.
Absolutely.
So keep it a buck.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing, brother. Talk to me, BWELL, about who or what is kind of the inspiration to do what you do.
I'd say my inspiration comes a lot from overall sound, but a particular person is my mother, her work ethic, and her belief just in the world in general. You know, like she's a beautiful soul in regards to just how she operates, you know? Like I said, like I'm a walking flaw. My parents aren't perfect. Nobody is, you know? And so it's just like to see somebody really put their all into like not only their life, but like their family, like that shit means a lot to me. And so it's like I try to incorporate that not only into my music, but then how I like build my family, my brand, my team, and things like that. It's like that's the only thing that really like matters to me. There's like the fluidity and the structure that we got going on, you know, like I said, my circle is super tight, close knit. Like if I fuck with you, I fuck with you the long way, and I'm gonna hold you down forever type of thing. It's like, and so I take that like from her, you know what I mean? I take a lot from my father. I take a lot from my sisters and my friends, and just music in general. Whatever I'm listening to, I can learn from it. You know what I mean? I can be like, Drake made a statement when he got signed to Young Money, and he was like, I was on tour with Lil Wayne and I wasn't performing, but I was standing next to that stage every single night, and I was learning. I was taking that shit in, and like that's how I feel just about life. Like no matter where I'm at, I'm trying to like soak it all in. There's good, there's bad, there's ugly, there's beautiful, and it's just like if I can learn and be like, I like the way they did that, I'm gonna do it like this though, and it's gonna be way harder. You know what I mean? Like if I can figure that out, that's my goal, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish throughout this.
I think that it's a beautiful thing, like just being like family oriented, like you said, and like, you know, 100%. Being like surrounded by like people that you care about, and that people like really care about you as well. I think that's a super important thing to life too, man, because like, you know, obviously like music can be forever, but like the people that you surround yourself with is what is gonna like ultimately be there like when you're dying, and like when it's your last moments of your life and shit, you know. So I think that like, you know, having and establishing those relationships with the people that matter the most to you is the best thing that you can do in life.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
Do you feel like you want to tap into like any other avenues like in like the creative scene? Is there like
I want to do it all, man. I have
Because I don't feel like you're just like gonna be stuck in music. Like I feel like you are like a very creative being, thanks, and like like especially like with the events that you put on and stuff. And I remember we were like messing around at Shoot the Shit, and you was like had the camera out.
Yeah, snagging them. Trying. Like I love art, and I like creating just in general. Like the lamest shit to somebody might be the most beautiful thing to me. You know what I mean? In regards to like either an event, a flower, artwork, a plant, it really doesn't matter. And so it's like I'm intrigued by colors and sound more than anything else in the world. And so I'm not really trying to put really like goals on my life. It's more like what can I see and be inspired by and then go do. Like in my Vanity Fair song, my first line is like, I feel like Diddy, but my bar is way better. You know what I mean? Like I respect P. Diddy's hustle regardless of how you feel about him. He's going to be a billionaire. You know, it's like what he's been able to do, not only in music, but like in the black community, in the music culture, and all that is inspiring to me. You know, and there's
especially
people that
being
are
like an African American billionaire. Like that's something that you don't really hear of
until Jay-Z and him did it. Like you know what I mean? Well, in music, you know what I mean? Like Bob Johnson, Oprah. Like there've been like other black entrepreneurs who have broken that threshold. You know what I mean? But like to see somebody get it out, like, you know what I mean? Like Jay-Z talks about it. Like he literally sold crack and made it up. Like I'm never gonna knock nobody's house, so I give a fuck less.
Exactly.
McDonald's is crack. Burger King is crack. Like you're never gonna tell me that though, like what somebody else is doing is wrong. Like you go fuck yourself. Is how I see it. And I apologize for the profanity.
No, you're good.
I mean? But like I get like, bro. I get passionate about, like, because it's like, I remember Tommy Lauren, like they used it in Drug Dealers Anonymous, the Pusha T and Jay-Z song, and it's like, your husband sold crack cocaine for 14 years or something, and it was just like,
that was
and now
the
look
life.
at him.
Yeah, exactly.
Those were his circumstances, his environment, and he survived. You know what I'm saying? You came from a trust fund, Tommy. You know what I mean? You were handed everything, and so it's like, how can you sit on this pedestal of privilege and look down on somebody that came from nothing, that came from Marcy projects? Like, fuck
it's like
you.
I don't know. I think that like we live in like an interesting time right now, man. Like you know, and like people are always like trying to judge like what people did in the past. You know, like
just anything. Like it's odd. It's an odd complex. You know, like as far as like Buddha talks about, like negativity is 5 times stronger than positivity. So every negative thought you have to counteract it with 5 positive ones, and like that's how the world operates. Also, in regards to how you feel or what your religious affiliation is, it's like that's like a true testament or something that I believe. And so it's like people are just waiting for you to fuck up. Like literally, LeBron is probably the greatest human walking in regards to what he has accomplished in his life and what he came from and what he continues to do. And people can't wait for him to screw up or tweet something that's racist or tweet something that's out of line. Like that blows my mind. And like, and that's why I can't really watch like ESPN like that. I can't sit here, and it's no slight to people, but how am I gonna watch an average white man talk about one of the greatest athletes of all time and talk about how he choked in the finals? It's like, bro, you barely made the high school basketball team, fam. But like, you gonna talk about this dude?
I don't know. Like I see LeBron is definitely like one of the most like hated people out there in the universe,
which is fucking mind-boggling.
I saw somebody they tweeted some shit. It was just blasphemy. They said LeBron's like career average is like 27, 7 and 7,
and he hasn't done that.
And he hasn't done that in a game.
Yeah, it's like you're a moron.
It's like, bro, like, is he got to jump over the moon, bro? Like, what's he got to do,
man? It's sad.
Yeah, and I think that like, you know, I don't know. There's something else that happened on social media that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. It was Kevin Hart when he was getting ready to host the Oscars. People like got tweets that he was saying like 10 years ago or some shit. And it was about like some like gay, like LGBTQ type of statements or whatever. And it's like, you know, he's not doing that now. And I'm pretty sure that like a majority of like society has said things like that because like, you know, comedy like 10 years ago, like you were allowed to like get away with that shit.
And it still should be.
And it was like, you know, people were like saying like, oh, that's gay, like this is that, you know what I'm saying? Like it was like that was like the way of the world back then. But you know, going back and like trying to rip somebody for what they said in the past is like super fucked up.
I think what irritates me the most about just American society in general is like we castrate all these individuals, whether it be Asian American, Indian, Native, blacks, whites, forgetting that we created slavery in this society and capitalism and you know what I mean, and segregation. And like 50 years ago my grandmother couldn't eat, we couldn't even sit at this fucking coffee shop, and it's just like the big, like I was told by my coach one time, like you don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. America ain't nothing but a Ponzi scheme in a glass house, and it's just like all we're doing is chucking shit, talking shit, and it's just like, bro, look at your framework, look where we come from, and y'all got all this negative ass shit to say. Like, how about you do your own dirt? How about you tell these people where they came from and why we can't go home because we don't know where home is? And like, there's all this, I could ramble on about that for hours, but it's just crazy, it pisses me off, and that's like that's why I'm excited to like pursue this music shit, you know what I mean? Because this is like my platform, you know. I don't know, like in regards to music, I know that I'm not the most talented rapper, you know what I mean? I live with the dopest rapper alive and to ever do it, and his name's Teller Banks. And so it's like I get to witness greatness, and it's like that's just things that like motivate me, you know what I mean? I know that like I'm able to coordinate and inspire people and things like that, and if music is my avenue to do that, then you're damn right I'm going to pursue it, and I'm going to do it to the fullest extent, but I'll be damned if I pigeonhole myself into this is all I can do. Like, I can't wait to get on interviews and talk crazy and be like, no, do your research.
Why don't you do it, bro? Why don't you start a podcast or something?
Because for one, it's like I would want to start one that's like encompassing more than just me. You know what I mean? And so I guess I'm trying to figure out, because you're like probably the third or fourth person that has like brought that to my attention.
Bro, you should, man.
Thanks, man.
You should.
I want to do, because I would want to incorporate it with like music somehow, you know, like bring an artist in, he streams it a little bit, and then we just talk our shit.
Just
you know?
do it, man. Just do it. Like, and if you need help, man, just let me know, and I'd be happy to help you guys, man.
Thank you, man.
Because like I think that, you know, you do have like a lot of good stuff that you have to say, and I think that like music, obviously, like you can get that out, but like there's something about like, you know, podcasting where you can like just sit down in front of a microphone and like people are just listening to your voice, and I think that like, you know, it's kind of like the way that like your word flow is super dope, but like, you know, sometimes when you're rapping or like you're singing or whatever, like some of the lines just kind of go over people's heads, 100%. You know, which is like just kind of the way of the world right now. But like, you know, when you're sitting down and like you're just conversating with somebody and like you're giving your views,
it can hit a little harder.
Yeah, you know, and I think that like, you know, all you got to do is just buy a fucking microphone.
We got a few.
Yeah, you know, you're good, man. So I think that's definitely something that I would advise you to do, bro.
Thank
like,
you,
know, just get on that shit, man. Like, and it doesn't have to be like the perfect thing right now, you know. And I think that like just starting it is like the best thing that you can do.
100%.
And like obviously, like, you know, we were talking about some real world shit, and that's like all you gotta do, man. Like, you just talk about the real world shit, because
people
you know,
want to talk about it.
Yeah, and that's why, like, you know, I try to just talk about the truth. Obviously, like the Truth podcast, you know, I want to talk about like what's going on in the world, you know, and like talk about like the truth of like what somebody's been through and shit. You know, I think that's super important to do that. So
100%.
you know, and like I think that like in the community sometimes people can be like very like cutthroat, like saying like, oh, I'm the only podcast here in Des Moines or whatever. It's like, bro, like do your dance, bro. Like fuck, man. Like go ahead and do it, bro. You know, exactly. It's like you know, like I'm never gonna steer somebody away from it. So I'm like, bro, like if you need some help, hit my line, bro. Like I can get you on some streaming services and shit, bro. Like you can do it, bro. Like I think that like there's so many people that like get so caught up in what they're doing and thinking that they're like the only one that's doing it, and then they get pissed of like, you know, if somebody's like trying to be like in competition or whatever, and it's like, bro, I welcome that shit. You know, it's like I'm still gonna be doing my thing. It's like, but it's who am I to like tell you not to do something, you know? And
it's like competitiveness should be in there, like every person, you know, like especially in this society. I mean, if you want to do anything, you have to have some kind of like competitiveness and like at least like a chip on your shoulder and know like you can't really be like soft about things. Be like, you can be emotional and make decisions, I guess, but it's not going to get you very far.
And I think that like something that I've been trying to do a lot is like, you know, just showing love to like all my homies, like regardless of like what avenue they're in, if they're in the same avenue as me, or if like they're in the music industry, or you know, whatever the case is, like I'm just gonna always show love, because if it's art and I think that it's dope, I'm gonna tell you that it's fucking dope. I'm gonna share it out, and you know, I'm gonna show love and all that. So you know, like, and I think that like I welcome everybody. Like, you know, if you guys have any questions for me about how to run a podcast, like, you know, just let me know. Because like shit, bro, like I think that everybody has their own voice, and that's why like I never shy away from like getting somebody on the podcast too. It's like, you know, I welcome it, because it's like it's a different avenue of people that will come over and watch my podcast or whatever, and then like they're also able to like spit their truth and tell their story. And like I think that I learned so much about just like hearing people people talk, and you know, like hearing like my other friends like and what they think about, and like me and you, like we obviously think like pretty like-minded with that shit, you know. So yeah, I think that it's super important like to, you know, let your voice be heard, bro. So like if you got to do a podcast, bro, do the podcast, do that shit, man.
For sure.
Yeah,
that's good advice.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Tell me about some of the future plans you got going, BWELL. It's kind of some of the closing questions I have for you, but tell me about some of the future plans, and you know, got some stuff coming up. So.
Yeah, you know, I gotta keep a lot of things under wrap in regards to like I don't want to talk crazy and then not produce. I hate when people do that. I hate when I do that.
Yeah.
And so
it's kind of hard sometimes not to do that.
Yeah, you get like I just don't want to get the carriage in front of the horses. You know what I mean? Like I really don't want to just get too ahead of myself. But yeah, I'm excited for like the fall and the winter. I'm excited for the West album release. If you're not doing anything on August 10th, it's a Saturday, come on out. I don't know, it'll be crazy. Again, you know what I mean? I don't really try to put on things that aren't at least fun for like 20 minutes. Like even if you give me 20, 30 minutes of your time, like you'll be like, yo, that shit was kind of fly. I'm going back to the next one. But that one, there'll be a lot of art, music, food. Just a lot of my friends that'll be in. It's cool, like to just come and have them all under one roof for one night. You know, like anybody that I feel like has been to our shows knows there's like some kind of magical mystique or energy that goes on. Like, and it's just like this is dope. This is organic. I fuck with this kind of thing. September we have a pretty big event that's in the it's in the works. And then CultureCon 2 coming up. You know what I mean? But yeah, more music, more videos, more trips, seeing the world, man. I'm really excited. I feel very alive. I've never felt this inspired and just like hungry. You know, I'm ready to work at any time. And if I got a call and need to be in Indonesia tomorrow for a video shoot, I'm flying.
Let's
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
fuck it. Who cares? Like, I'm gonna die someday. You know what I mean? Like. And my breath is no longer going to be like here, so it's just like I'm gonna get everything I got to say out and everything that I want to do out before it's taken away from me. That's how I'm like looking at life now, and it took me a long time to really get that comfortability within myself and the confidence and just fluidity within my own I don't know, my own actions and my own like I don't know, dealing with my own flaws more than anything. You know, I feel like the more older you get, hopefully the more mature you get, and I feel like that's what I've the maturation process in the last year has done a lot for me and those close to me, and so low-key I'm just excited to just keep going.
I think that it's super important, you know, to just be inspired by life 100%. Sometimes, you know, and like, you know, if you see like a fucking plant, you know, and just like, shit, how can I like enter this into my life or whatever, like how I like look around at the world and like, you know, think about like architecture or some shit, you know, just be inspired about everything that you're able to see.
And just be like happy to be here. You know, like there's one of my best friends, Taylor Rogers, just recently lost his pops, you know what I mean, Dr. Michael Rogers, and like he was probably one of the most positive people I've ever in my entire life been around, you know, and it was just like, it didn't matter what the fuck he was doing, like it was just like, this is the dopest thing, like he could be playing like ping pong with himself, like Forrest Gump, and he was like, you know what I mean, just having a blast, and it was just like, a lot of the time as humans, like even in this society, like until you get to like financial freedom, you don't get to do what the fuck you want to do all the time, and so it's like all these people will be mad that they have to go do all these things and provide for these lifestyles that they've created, and it's just like, man, like sometimes this shit sucks, man. Like sometimes this shit really do stink, you know what I mean, and you got to pick it up and you got to move it, and it's just like, I mean, it's not supposed to be perfect. If it was perfect, you'd still find a flaw. You know, and it's just like I'm learning how to embrace the imperfections and like the non-purity that comes with life is really what I'm trying to like do recently, and I find a lot more joy. You know what I mean? Like just knowing my faith. You know, I don't know that I really have like a religious like
affiliation,
denomination. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm a spiritual being. I feel like anybody that talks to me or is around me can feel like where I'm coming from, and you know what I mean, knows where I'm like, where my heart's at, you know, and like I feel like that's the most important. I feel like religion's kind of a scary thing to kind of get into, you know, a lot of hatred can stem from that. And so
I feel like I'm in the same boat, bro. Like I think that you know, in regards to like, you know, being inspired by life, like I think that that's why like I took a break from like doing a podcast and stuff for a while, because it's like I forgot almost like to just have fun with it in a sense, you know.
It became
like,
a chore almost.
You know, and it's like I think that now I'm like, you know, just taking a step back from it is like super important, because it's like, okay, I know I still want to do this shit, but it's like I did have to like take a step back from it.
How can I make it fun again? Where's my joy at?
Exactly. So I think that like, you know, I forgot about like how much like, I have like people like hitting me up like every couple of weeks saying like, where's the podcast at? Where's this at? Or like, I'm missing the episodes or whatever. And it's like, I had to take that me time for a second, but I think that it's super important, to just kind of be inspired by life for a little bit and then get back to work when you want to get back to work,
Sure.
So
it's organic that way.
Yeah, and I think that like, in regards to, you were talking about, what were we talking about? It was like the last part of your statement. You were talking about shit. Probably come back to me sometime.
That's straight.
But just being inspired in general is like a super beautiful thing that I feel like a lot of people don't really do anymore. Yeah. And I think that finding that peace of mind. And, you were talking about the religion stuff is what I was going to get into. I feel like I'm kind of in the same boat, man. Like, like religion is kind of like this thing where, no knock to anybody that's religious out there, but I think that like it does cause a lot of turmoil and issues and stuff, especially in like the community as a whole. Like, there's a lot of people that, like say that like being gay or transgender and like all this stuff is wrong because of a religion, and it's like, I don't know, it's like, I think that what they also preach too is like, you need to love everybody and you need to respect everybody. So it's like, it's
good and bad. It's kind of like
it's a weird dynamic. It's a weird dynamic.
It's like it's like guidelines. You know what I mean? It's not. There's like principles, and then I feel like there's guidelines. Like if you make it like the principle thing, like I live by this, I only do this, like that's when religion in general, gets very dangerous. Yeah. It's like anything outside of what this book is telling me is wrong, and it's like, you're fucking insane. Yeah. You know what I mean? Exactly. It's really and I have no problem debating anybody that chooses to talk to me any different. Because it's just like, some of the greatest people that I have never met in my life have been either lesbian or gay, and some of the worst, trashiest, garbage individuals go to church every Sunday. Yeah. And so it's like, if I base my interactions off of that individual, like if I feel, not that I'm some perfect being, but like there's synergy that is involved with humans speaking to one another, and it's just like, you can tell if like somebody has a good heart, you can tell if, you know what I mean? Like, just through their interactions, who they are as people. And it's just like, I'm not going to not fuck with you because you say that you are Muslim or you are, you know what I mean? Or you practice Buddhism. Like, and I'm just like, well, you're a psychopath and I can't talk to you. Like, that's fucking moronic. And it's just like, you're going to cut yourself off from a lot of great people if that's how you choose to operate. It's no, not, you do whatever the fuck you want, because I'm living my life and I'm enjoying it. But like, that would be my like advice to anybody that's really like strict towards their religion. Like, I can't break out of this mold. Like, literally, that's what created segregation. That's what created the Crusades. That's what created like the, you know what I mean? Like the technological revolution was like people being like, no, I don't think you're right all the way, because this kind of does work, and it actually works better. You know what I mean? So test everything and ask why. Like, you know what I mean? That's why like religion was always like funky with me. My parents like worked super hard like throughout their week, and so it was like their Sunday was like, yo, we're chilling. You know what I mean? We're chilling. We're not going to church, and it's like they still raised me to be a pretty good individual, you know what I mean? And so it's just like,
well, you got a good head on your shoulders too, man. Like, I think that something that I've been trying to do too is like really hard for some people, but it's something that I'm trying to understand is like, the people that think differently than me on like regards to like the everyday stuff of like, it could be religion, it could be like their views on like political stuff, like, if they like Donald Trump or not, and all this stuff. Like, I think that we're in a really weird time where like, it kind of did break off like a lot of good friendships and shit just because of people's political views.
Family too.
Yeah, and I think that like, something that I've been trying to do is like, still hearing like the different side. It's like, they're thinking like tough. That for a reason.
There's gotta be some reason.
So it's like, what can I do to like, just talk with them, because I'm not going to like cut off a relationship or, not get somebody on my podcast because of their political views. It's like, obviously like I don't agree with it, but what am I to like shy away from that shit? Because then I feel like I'm no different from thinking that,
And the medium that you chose is like, you know what I mean? The podcast in general is like a debate forum. You know what I mean? Essentially, it's like we're engaging in conversation and having different ideas and interacting in that conversation.
And it's like, I don't necessarily like respect their opinion, but like I gotta respect it to a certain extent, you know, because it's like
I respect you as a human. It doesn't mean I have to rock with your life choices.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It's like, you know, I can like you as a human being, but you know, your political views is like, you know, I don't really necessarily rock with it, but also talk with you about it. You know, it's like I think that some people, like, especially like in like the quote unquote left or whatever, you know, I think that there's some things that I just don't really agree with, you know, on it, and it's like, you know, I don't feel like they're any different than the people that are conservative or on the right.
Yeah, anybody that's an extremist is an extremist, and that's not a good term. Like, it doesn't mean that, like, if you're an extreme CrossFitter, that probably means that you need to fucking chill out a little bit.
Exactly,
you know what I mean? Like, like an extremist in any facet is kind of like, all right, we get it. You know what I mean? But like, I think that engaging in conversation is the most important thing, because that's the like, when people have called me on my bullshit is when I've learned the most. And so it's like, or when people have been able to like bring in a new frame of thought, like, damn, I wasn't even looking at it like that, pimp. I apologize. Like, that means like I learned a lot from our conversation. Like, but a lot of people don't even want to do that, because that's how they find their definition of who they are. And so it's like, when you start nitpicking what they stand for and who they are, people get very defensive. Like, all we are as humans is organisms trying to be comfortable in our environment. So it's like, the last thing that humans want to do is be uncomfortable. That's why the biggest fear of people is what? Public speaking. Like, people don't want to get up there and be castrated. Like, they're just waiting to get fucking tomatoes and stones thrown at you. And
I think that like a lot of people, you have to like almost be careful with what you say.
Yeah,
like,
which is garbage.
Yeah, and I think that like, you know, something that, you know, I kind of think about, like, when, like, if my podcast does like grow bigger than what it is, it's like, you know, people can like take stuff out of context and like make it into something that like I didn't fucking say. You know,
that's why artists don't do interviews anymore. Like the higher you get, like, I remember. And maybe you know what I mean. Maybe I did say something in that like realm, but I remember I did like an interview for 8035 last year, and I remember I'm taking like my picture, and then like it was in this pamphlet that was all over 8035, and it was just like the thing that they highlighted was like, nobody was doing this before us. You know, and like, and it's just like,
because then that makes you sound
I sound arrogant as fuck, and it's just like, I probably did in some context say that, because like, I mean, I don't know that anybody is doing what I am doing or what my team is doing. That's not to knock what anybody else has done or the framework that was laid, but it's like, if you open the pamphlet and that's the first thing you say, you're like, BWELL's an arrogant douchebag. And it's just like, that makes me like turned off towards doing any kind of interaction with anybody. That's like outside of this, you know what I mean? Like, because people can spew it to however they want, and it's like, a lot of the time humans don't have a chance to rebuttal or like defend themselves, and like, it's just that decision's made, like, nope, don't fuck with him now. And it's weird, shitty,
it's fucked up, it's fucked up. And I think that like, you know, there's something weird about it, and I think that like, it's good for like writing in like that type of medium, like, you know, newspaper and like all that stuff. You know, people do take a lot of shit out of context with that. 100%. And then like,
it's all about, and then read your story. Like, what's
and it's
the
like,
meat of it?
And then there's only so much that you can read, and then it ends. You know, versus like, you know, a conversation. You know, you have a chance to like explain yourself a little bit. You know, like you can like go to that newspaper or whatever, and like, or the magazine or whatever, if they took something out of context, and you could be like, hey, I want to get like on your guys' like shit, your next issue, and like explain myself a little bit. But then that takes a lot of time, and then like, you know, people have kind of taken that out of context already, and they've kind of like already written you off or whatever, you know. So I think that it's fucked up, but I think that like things like this, where you can like get a chance, you know, just to talk one-on-one with somebody, is like super important, you know. And I think that's like, and it's like the truth can come out here, bro. Like, you can get vulnerable with somebody. You can like, you know, talk about like some real shit that's going on in the world, you know. I think that's a super dope thing to have. Getting back to like the little future plan stuff, obviously like you have the album coming up too. When is that coming out? So
that comes out August 9th, so the day before the show. We might do the second, so it gives like people a week to like marinate with it and listen. But when we released The Hills back in 2018, like we released it like, so that Friday people were like streaming, listening to it, and be like, yo, I fuck with this, and then the next day they came to the show, and so I kind of like that that formula, so I might stick with that, and it just gives more time for like the mastering process for us to kind of like tweak last second changes if we need to be. But I would expect it no later than the 9th.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. What is it about Fridays in the music industry? Like, I feel like a lot of projects like come out on Fridays. Is there like a reason for that?
I think that It's almost changed. I know that they did, like, there's numerous studies. Like, if you Googled why people drop music on, like, there's scientific formulas and studies and things that
looked into it.
No, we have Anthony AM Mixes. He actually sent me like this long ass article that was just like when to post on social media, and it was like this company did, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? They studied for like a year and just saw, like, these are the hot times to post. This is when the most interaction for video content. This is when you should post pictures. This is when you should tweet, and like people really dissect that shit. And I'm sure, like, the music industry is all a formula, and so, like, nobody's making just wild guesses. And so, but people have actually gone to, like, shift towards, like, the Wednesday, Thursday drops, just so, like, you can give people, like, a midweek entertainment thing. But I think that the people are happy on Fridays because they're like, my week's done. I'm about to go get fucked up. I'm about to listen to this new album. Or like, and so it's like, I think that there's a joy that comes from, like, a Friday, and so people are, like, they're amped for that. But, like, with that, streaming has also, like, fucked that up, because it's like, unless you're a Drake or, like, a heavy hitter, like, your shit's not going to show up. Like, so it's like, it's almost suicide if you try to drop, like, when a big artist tries to drop. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, there's no chance you're getting it on. Like, not that you're gonna make it really on, like, an iTunes, like, top 10 list or anything like that, but, like, your chances become exponentially smaller by doing that. So it's just like, I don't know. I rock with Fridays. I rock with the midweek. I rock with just random drops. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're just feeling it, and you're like, fuck it, here, y'all been rocking with me. Here you go. You know, like, I think that there's definitely calculation, and I would be asinine to tell you that I don't sit up and think about those things all the time.
Because I think, like, I understand, like, you know, coming from the standpoint of, like, you know, it's going into the weekend. You got to have some, like, new bangers that you want to, like, listen to in the car and shit, you know. So I get that, but I was kind of interested in, like, you know, if, like, there was actually some studies done on, like, why people drop on, like, Fridays and shit.
Like, buying habits and decisions, you know. Like, Monday comes, like, you're watching your wallet tight. You're like, nope, I just fucked off way too much money this weekend. But, like, Friday coming, you're like, low-key, I'm balling. And I'm finna go crazy. So, like, fuck it, I'll buy this album, I'll go out, do this, do that. And so it's like, I feel like I just said, like, I know I'm more hyped when Friday comes, so I assume a majority of humans are.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's an interesting thing. BWELL, a couple of the closing questions I ask everybody on the podcast. There's some deep ones, so we'll dive into it and we'll get after it. So, BWELL, tell me, what is one thing that you have to do in life? So, like, when it's all said and done, sitting on your deathbed, what is that one thing that you have to say that you've been able to do?
Inspire growth and change. That's all I want to really do. Like, whether it be, like, from the love of my life to my parents to my best friends to a random person that I might never meet in my life. That's what's cool about music, is like, and that's kind of what I've been, like, humbled by recently, is like, not that Des Moines is small, and so you can know a lot of people, but a lot of people can know of you if you're doing things, you know, I guess. And so I don't really know who I'm impacting, but that's why I choose to go to the school with my friends and donate when we can, or when we can even just go pull up and talk to them and perform. Is like, I wish that I would have had somebody do that for me or for my friends, you know. Like, I always wish that I had, like, not to say that my parents did, like, you know what I mean, like, I've spoken how much I like inspired by my parents, but I wish that there was, like, a role model that was like, yo man, like, I'm gonna teach you how to do this, that, and the third, because you're not gonna learn any of this shit in school. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of your homies probably don't know of these things, so it's just like, I want to be that catalyst. It's just like, if I can, I feel like Tupac made a statement. He's like, I don't know if I'll change the world, but I might inspire the brain that does change the world. And it's like, there's another quote that's like, the ones that, like, are crazy enough to think that they'll change the world are the ones that kind of do it. You know, like, we live in a fucked up ass place. We live in a beautiful place at the same time. So it's just like, it's however you choose to do this shit. And it's like, I know I'm going to do magical, beautiful, astronomical things with my life. You know what I mean? I know I've been blessed with opportunities that people would kill for, die for. And so it's like, I have to, my main mission is to make sure that I fulfill that shit. I'll be damned if I ever get lazy. I'll be damned if I ever slow up, you know what I mean? It's like, there's a competition base that comes with hip-hop, but there's also a competition that just comes in life, and it's just like, I'm very humbled by the fact that I'm able to do what I want to do every single day, you know what I mean? I have to play by rules, everybody does, but it's just like, I love living. Like, and I'm very in love and in tune with what I got going on and with my family, my friends, and so it's just like, it's my duty, it's my responsibility to give that shit back. If I don't, then my time here was wasted.
Absolutely. 100%. It's a beautiful thing, brother. It's a beautiful thing, man. And I think that it's super important, to, especially like regarding like the stuff about like changing the world, I think that it's important, to like always be thinking about not only yourself, but thinking about like what you are giving back to the world. And I think that it's super important, like as an artist, to not only be thinking about like what you're putting out, like with your music or with your photography or whatever the case is, like thinking about like what can this really do for somebody that experiences it, because like music can, like, it's one of those things where like lives. It's insane, man. Like I think that like it's weird, like how like I'll be sitting in my room like going through like some emotional shit or whatever, and like I throw on some music and it may like intensify the sadness or some shit, and it's like, it's crazy how music does that for some people.
And it's the only thing, like, I don't know if you're a big Lupe fan, but he's got an album called Tetsuo Youth, and there's a song called Prisoner 1 and 2, and it's like one of the intro lines is like, music is the king of all professions, and like I wholeheartedly believe that, and that's one of the reasons why I choose to do it. It's not like an egotistical thing, but it's like, if I wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or a congressman, a politician of any sort, I could have done that shit and I could have been great at it. Exactly. You know what I mean? Me and Telly talk about that shit all the time. Like, I could have done anything I chose to do. I chose the most difficult, most oversaturated, hardest market that you can possibly get into, and I'm fucking thriving in it. Yep. So it's like, I'm excited for that. You know what I mean? Like, nothing is like music. You know what I mean? Like, everybody that's an accountant or has to work for a company comes to the show to release. You know what I mean? They'll come to this show on August 10th and be like, in awe with what's not only me, but like what's going on, and like that energy that's created. You don't get that in a fucking office. You'll never get that in a cubicle. You'll never get that even playing a sport. I played sports my whole life. Nothing is like being on stage. There's nothing like connecting, making eye contact with somebody, or somebody coming up to you afterwards and being like, yo, that shit was life-changing. That was hard. That was tight, man. Like, I appreciate what you did up there. You know what I mean? Like,
it's crazy, like, how concerts and stuff can really do that, too.
And nothing can. Like, I've been trying. Maybe there is. You know, I shouldn't say nothing. Like, I'm sure that, like, the birth of my first child will do that. Yeah, me getting married will do that. You know what I mean? I'll be like, these are life-changing events. But, like, on a consistent basis, to be able to, like,
being able to perform and like
talk
like your shit, there's nothing like it.
Nothing, and nobody can convince me of any different.
Exactly, exactly, brother. Last thing that I ask every podcast guest, it's a long and lengthy question. So I want you to imagine that I have a copy of the New York Times written right here. Okay. It's written from 10 years from now, and there's a cover page, and it's a picture of you, and then there's an article written about you. What is this a picture of, and what is written in this article?
Man.
It's a long and lengthy question. Let it sit, let it marinate.
Yeah, all for that sure. Shit. I got like shit just spewing in my head. I hope it's... I hope I'm standing in front of like a ribbon or a bow about to get cut with all my family, my friends, the love of my life, my like child or something, and I'm cutting the ribbon in like of a new school here in Des Moines. You know what I mean? Or like a new, like a Vector 90, shout out Nipsey Hussle and rest in peace to the king, but like just like a something that like the world ain't really seen. Like the I Promise school that LeBron did was game changing. So like if there's anybody that doesn't like LeBron, go fuck yourself. I don't care. And it's just like I'll always feel like I'll always feel like that about not only him but just like his entire campaign. And if I could do something along those lines where I can open up and teach you about, I love fitness and nutrition, and I take that shit mad serious. So if I can teach people about health and how important it is to like really find what works for you, and to really figure out where you come from, like to plant and sustainability, and like figuring out how to operate regardless of what life throws at you, and really teach you like life goals, teach you about financing and credit cards, and you know what I mean, and how to stack money so you can put a down payment on a home and you don't have to rent for the first 20 years of your life outside of college. You know what I mean? Like really like teach. Like I want to travel the world. I want to see beautiful things. I want to perform in arenas. I want to go on tours in front of millions, like obviously, but like as far as like my like impact and like my lasting like legacy, like I
what you're gonna leave to the world.
Yeah, I want people to know that like, yo, this dude was on some crazy shit. He loved like humanity. You know what I mean? I don't really I don't care where you come from, what you're doing. who you are as an individual, as long as I know your heart is good and like there's potential, you know what I mean? Like anybody that knows me knows that I've grown a lot, you know what I mean? And I hope that a lot of my friends have done the same. And so it's like, I'm never going to judge somebody off of like what we was talking about. I'm never going to judge somebody off of a 10 years ago tweet. I said some fucking ridiculous shit. If I went back to college, I would fight me back in college. I would knock me out. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I try to. Exactly. And so it's like, I'm never going to just sit here and be like, you're a piece of shit because you said this.
Exactly.
It's like,
let it go.
Yeah, and it's just, yeah, I hope that they're talking about my legacy. My biggest, it's a weird dream to have, but I hope that I make it on like a government watch list someday where they're like scared of me. I hope that they're fucking deathly afraid of
you could
start like I could start a goddamn revolution if I chose to tweet it out tomorrow. Yeah. That's what I want my power to be, and never on like some arrogant egotistic. It's never that. It's just like, I know what I'm doing is like pure and organic to me and my friends, and so it's like that shit resonates with people, and it's like that's what this society tries to kill off. You know what I mean? I could list down all the people that have inspired me that have been killed by the government or whatever it is. You know what I mean? High society.
Like, weird
you know what I mean? And it's just like, I hope that I instill that fear. You know, I do a lot of like diving into like the civil rights movement and just blacks in general, and trying to learn where I came from, because they don't teach you none of that shit. Exactly. And so it's just like J. Edgar Hoover, who ran the fucking FBI for 30, 40 plus years, was and it's no slight, I have no there's not a homophobic bone in my body, but he was a raging homosexual who hated black people, and that to me is mind-boggling. That he is running one of the most prestigious, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, like one of the most powerful units in the world, is ran by a racist that has so much hatred in his blood. And he made the comment, he's like, the biggest fear to American society and just like the economic balance and capitalism in general is a black messiah. And then, I mean, we could go do your history. I dare you guys to go and look at all the black activists and just and people who fought for equality in general. They didn't have to just be black, but just how they're silenced, how they're shut the fuck up, how they're killed off, like that. Like, look at what is going on and study, and it shouldn't be a surprise to you in regards to what is going on. Like, you should be able to look up and be like, I understand why that is like that because of this and the third. You know, they don't want you to know any of those things. They don't want you to dive. They just want you to go to your job, work that 9 to 5, go home and keep paying Netflix. You know what I mean? Find your show and just be a bump on the log. And it's like, like I said earlier, I'm never going to judge somebody for how they operate and how they live, but I'll be fucking damned if I ever live like that.
Exactly.
And it's like, I'm here to provoke change. I'm here to like shake up the world, and I'm here to like inspire.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? I hope that's what the New York Times is talking about by the time I make it up there.
Yeah, brother. Hell yeah. BWELL, I appreciate you,
brother. I appreciate you, dog.
Today.
Thank you.
Is there anything that anybody that you want to shout out, or where can people find you on social media and all that stuff? Now's the time to do that.
Yeah. You can find me on almost all social medias if you Google BWELL. I'm proud to say that besides there's like a health conglomerate that is like BWELL, which is cool. You know, I hope to be affiliated with them someday.
Exactly.
Like, take over the reins. But yeah, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any social media really. I don't be on Snapchat, but like it's B_well or BWELL Music. Yeah, shout out my unit, man. I could go on for fucking hours of listing people. I hope I touched on a lot of names during the podcast. You know, shout out to my family, shout out to my friends, shout out to the creatives here in Des Moines. You know what I mean? My mother and father primarily in general for my existence here in this world. Thank you to my friends for believing in me. Shout out to Malia for seeing light in me and like kind of creating, I don't know, the new Bill, if that makes sense, the new BWELL. But yeah, shout out to everybody that's given me a chance, that's came to a show, downloaded a tune, listened to at least a word I've said, and kind of just believed in like what we got going on, you know? Like I said, I'm far from perfect, but I know I'm worth it, kind of thing. It's like, that's how I'm looking at it. So I appreciate the platform. I appreciate the shot, bro.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
brother. Absolutely. Everybody, I just want to give a quick shout out to the BWELLs and the Dead Stock team as well. I want to give a thanks to Life Water for the water as well. You know the deal. And also to DSM Brew for giving us the space to work in here today. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm hoping that you guys are having a great day and you guys took something from this podcast. You know, me and BWELL, like, we just talked about a lot of shit, you know, and like some real life shit, and I think that's super important, you know, to really dive into these things, even if it's something that like you don't really necessarily want to talk about. I think these things need to be talked about. I think it's super important to do that. So, but ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I hope you guys are having a great day and all that. Welcome back to the Truth Podcast. This is the official first back episode, all that stuff. We'll see you guys in a little bit. So, peace everybody, peace to the world. My name is Neek Robinson, and I'm the host of the show. This is BWELL over here.
BWELL,
we're out of here. Peace everybody, peace to the world. Thank you, brother.